What's up, YouTube? I got a PSA for you. Colorism callouts are not forever, all right? And I think this is something just in general, callouts aren't typically forever, but I'm going to keep it to the context of colorism because that's like a lot of what I have been talking about recently. But colorism callouts are not forever, okay? And I feel like who are people who know that they're guilty of colorism but won't admit it, are either really push back against admitting it. I think that's partially what's at play. They may feel like, oh, if I admit it, then it's like I'm a bad person, and you know there's no redeeming myself, right? But I will say that I think it's more redeeming for someone to admit and own up to what they've done and try to make amends and correct it versus someone who's just trying to hide, you know, and trying to sneak and still do it, but just hide and sneak around and do it instead, right? And honestly, if you're hiding and sneaking and doing it, then you're doing something wrong because you can't be straight up. If you weren't doing anything wrong, you would just be straight up with it. Or at least if you didn't think that it was wrong, you would be straight up with it. You wouldn't be hiding and sneaking to do it. You would just be like, hey, it is what it is. This is what it is right here. Yeah. And of course, call outs are not pleasant. All right. Call outs are not a good experience usually, right? People who get called out as not, for colorism is not a good thing, and you know, it's it's very disorienting. It's you sometimes you just feel like you may feel like you're being attacked from all sides. You may feel like no one is on your side, no one is seeing things from your perspective, but and that may be true, right? You know, yeah. But also, I feel like when it comes to colorism callouts, do the true colorists ever really get any major punishment or any sort of major backlash that really affects them? Because I feel like colorists have been able to get off the hook for a while, actually. Even when we do call them out, they have been able to get off the hook for a while. Like they may get called out, they may issue an apology, but I feel like it's just back to normal, back to business as usual after about a week or two, you know? As far as the people and their mentality is concerned, I don't know if they really learned a lesson from the call out or not, honestly. And I think, for us as the people who are against colorism, which tends to be in the minority from what it seems like, but people who are against it, have to make sure that they do not support people. Like when you call out people and you're like, okay, you're a colorist, and they admit to it, and then it's like, okay, what's next? And if they do something that's worth redeeming themselves for, like if they do something that redeems themselves, then okay, but if they don't, then it's like, okay, the ball's in our court now, so what are we going to do? What's our next move? Do we go back to supporting them? Do we stop supporting them? Do we continue to call them out while not supporting them? What do we do? Because that's a part of it too. Make sure that you're having consequences for people who engage in colorism. And I think by and large, the consequences are not usually there. You know, And also one thing I hate is people who pretend like they are so perfect. You know, let them tell it they ain't never had a colorist thought in their life. You know, let them tell it they ain't never did anything wrong. Like they won't admit to any fault at all. And I'm just like, you know, just a side eye, you know, when people try to portray themselves as being so perfect, you know, especially in the context of colorism, especially when, you know, I've been picking up on some things as far as my interaction with you, but you know, unfortunately, I just don't have the receipts to prove it. But I'm just picking up on some low-key anti-black or anti-black woman sentiments when I'm speaking to you. Yeah. And also people low-key view an indictment, a colorism call out as an indictment for life. And for me, where I'm coming from with it is like this. A call out ain't forever. My nigga, we want you to get better. That's the thing. That's where I'm coming from with this. Like right here, right now, you doing some fucked up shit, and we gotta bring it to your attention, right? But it don't mean that you a piece of shit forever and ever and ever. It just means that you're a piece of shit right now. But you have the opportunity to change that if you want to. But the thing is, do these folks really want to? That's the thing. Because a lot of people, as quiet as it's kept, indulge in colorism. A lot of people are invested in colorism, as quiet as it's kept. You know, a lot of these people, colorism is low key the. I'm thinking about actually making a whole and separate video about this, but you know, I have a personal theory that colorism is the uh, poor dark-skinned black man's version of white supremacy. And because of that, oftentimes, you know, you tend to see dark-skinned men perpetuating this colorism a lot, right? And of course, they're not the only ones, but oftentimes when colorism comes up, you can rest assured that a dark-skinned man is involved somewhere in there. And I know some folks, you know, um, don't want to admit that, you know. Either you got the black males, or the dark-skinned black males, or they're coddlers who don't want to admit. One of the two, or both of them, you know, don't want to admit it. You know, although oddly enough, they can call out everybody else's colorism, but their own, right? Um, but I'm going to bring this video to a close. I don't want to go on for too long. You know, I feel like my message is pretty simple. Yeah. And I feel like at this point, you know, I think you get it, right? So let me know what you think in the comments section. You know, how do you think, or what do you think about this? Let me know. Until the next video, adios and goodbye for now.